You're standing in a forest. It's 2 million years ago. You're hungry. There's a deer about 300 meters to your left, and there are 4 other humans standing next to you who could help you catch it. But here's the problem. You cannot tell them about the deer. You can point, you can grunt, you can grab someone's arm and drag them in a direction and hope they figure it out, but you cannot say, "There's a deer to the left, you two circle around, you stay here, I'll drive it toward you." And so, most of the time, you don't catch the deer. And then one day, nobody knows exactly when, nobody knows exactly how, one of your descendants opens their mouth and something different comes out. Not a grunt, not a scream, a word, maybe 2, and the deer doesn't stand a chance. This is the story of how humans started talking, and the real reason it happened has almost nothing to do with hunting deer. It has to do with something far more dangerous, something that lives inside every human group that has ever existed: each other. Language is so fundamental to being human that we almost never stop to question it. You woke up this morning and thoughts arrived in words. You're processing what I'm saying right now in words. Even your internal monologue, that constant voice narrating your own life like a documentary nobody asked for, that's language too. We think in it, we dream in it, we fall in love in it, we lie in it. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Every other animal on this planet got along just fine without it. Wolves coordinate hunts, elephants grieve their dead, chimpanzees form political alliances, make tools and wage wars against neighboring groups, dolphins have signature whistles that function essentially as names, crows remember human faces and hold grudges for years. None of them developed anything close to what you're doing right now, which is processing a sequence of arbitrary sounds and extracting meaning from them at roughly 150 words per minute without any conscious effort whatsoever. So, why did we? The short answer is we needed to solve a problem that no other animal had in quite the same way. The long answer is what this is about. Let's start with a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar. In the 1990s, Dunbar was studying primates and noticed something interesting. The size of a primate's neocortex, the thinking part of the brain, correlated almost perfectly with the size of the social group that primate lived in. Bigger brain, bigger group every time. This makes sense when you think about it. Managing social relationships is cognitively expensive. You need to track who is allied with whom, who owes who a favor, who is trustworthy, who stabbed you in the back last Tuesday. The more individuals in your group, the more relationships to track, and the bigger the mental hardware you need to do it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Primates maintain social bonds primarily through grooming, physical touch, one chimp picking through another chimp's fur. It sounds simple, but it's doing something neurologically sophisticated. Grooming releases endorphins, it builds trust. It says, "I am investing time in you specifically. You matter to me." It works extremely well, but it has a hard limit. You can only groom one animal at a time, and grooming takes time, real time. Chimps spend up to 20% of their entire waking lives grooming each other just to maintain the social structure their group size requires. And chimp groups max out at around 50 individuals before the whole social structure starts to fall apart. Now look at early humans. As our ancestors moved out of forests and onto open savannas, group size became a survival advantage in a way it hadn't been before. Bigger groups meant better defense against predators, better collective hunting, better distribution of risk. The groups that could maintain more social bonds, that could hold more individuals together in genuine cooperation, had a meaningful survival edge over the groups that couldn't. But you can't groom 15 people. You don't have enough hours in the day. Dunbar proposed that language evolved as a solution to exactly this problem: vocal grooming, a way to maintain social bonds with multiple individuals simultaneously without requiring physical contact. You can talk to 3 people at once. You can tell a story to 10. You can make someone feel seen, valued, and connected through words alone, across a distance, in the dark, while your hands are doing something else entirely. Language, on this theory, didn't start with grand philosophical statements or detailed hunting instructions.
It started with gossip. I know, you wanted the origin of language to be something majestic, something about pointing at the stars and naming them, something poetic. It's gossip. Dunbar's research suggests that approximately 65% of human conversation time today, across all cultures studied, is devoted to social topics. Who did what to whom? Who can be trusted? What happened between those two people? Relationship updates, reputation tracking. We have been gossiping for potentially hundreds of thousands of years, and we have never once stopped. Your ancestors would be proud, or possibly responsible. But grooming theory, as elegant as it is, doesn't fully answer the question, because chimps also live in social groups, wolves also need coordination, elephants also have complex relationships. Why us? Why only us? Here's where the biology gets genuinely strange. Humans have a vocal tract unlike any other primate. Our larynx sits lower in the throat than any other mammals. This anatomical quirk gives us an extraordinary range of sounds we can produce, but it comes with a significant cost. It makes us dramatically more likely to choke on food than any other animal on Earth. Think about that. Evolution selected for a trait that made us worse at eating, which is arguably the most fundamental survival behavior that exists, because the communication advantage it enabled was worth the trade-off. That is how important language was. It was worth dying at dinner for. The anatomy started changing roughly 300,000 years ago in early Homo sapiens and was fully modern by at least 100,000 years ago. But behavioral evidence, cave paintings, symbolic objects, complex coordinated behavior suggests language like communication may have been developing for much longer than that. There's also the FOXP2 gene, sometimes called the language gene, which is a dramatic oversimplification, but bear with me. FOXP2 is a gene involved in the fine motor control of the mouth and throat. Humans have a unique version of this gene that differs from the chimpanzee version in two specific locations. When this gene is damaged in humans, it produces specific language impairments, not intelligence problems, not hearing problems, specifically the ability to produce and process complex speech. Neanderthals, it turns out, had the same human version of FOXP2.
Which means Neanderthals may have been capable of language, or something close to it. The species we used to picture as grunting brutes dragging clubs through the Ice Age may have been talking to each other in ways we currently have no way to recover or understand. What were they saying? We have absolutely no idea, and that might be one of the most haunting gaps in all of human knowledge. Here's the piece of this story that almost never comes up. Language didn't just change what humans could do, it changed what humans could be. Before language, your identity was basically what other members of your group had directly observed you doing. You were the person who caught the animal last week. You were the person who ran away from the fight. Your reputation was limited to living memory and direct experience. After language, you could be something entirely different. You could tell a story about yourself. You could explain your actions. You could describe something that happened when nobody was watching. You could make a promise about the future. You could construct, for the first time in the history of life on Earth, a narrative self, a version of you that existed in words and could be transmitted to people who had never met you. This is not a small thing. This is arguably the thing. The philosopher Daniel Dennett argues that the self, the experience of being a continuous person with a past and a future and an identity that persists through time, is fundamentally a linguistic construction. You are, in a very real sense, the story you tell about yourself and the story others tell about you. Before language, that story didn't exist. Which means, in some deep philosophical sense, before language, you didn't exist either, not the you that you think of as you. There were bodies, there were behaviors, there were social bonds, but the inner narrator, the voice in your head right now processing these words and having opinions about them and planning what you're going to do after this video ends, that voice is a product of language. It exists because language exists.
We didn't just invent a communication tool, we accidentally invented consciousness as we currently experience it. So, when did ancient humans start talking? Somewhere between 100,000 and 2 million years ago, depending on what you count as talking, which turns out to be a surprisingly complicated question. The anatomy suggests at least 100,000 years. The genetics suggest potentially longer. The social pressure that created the need was building for millions of years before the first word ever formed. What's clear is this. It didn't start because humans had something profound to say. It started because humans needed each other in a way that no previous animal had ever needed its group, and grunting wasn't enough anymore. And the groups that found a way to bond more deeply, coordinate more precisely, and maintain more relationships simultaneously, those groups survived. Those groups became us. And then the words came, and with the words came stories, and with stories came identity, and with identity came everything else: religion, art, law, science. Every structure of human civilization is downstream of the moment someone figured out how to turn breath into meaning. Right now, you are doing the thing that made humans human. You are processing language. You are receiving a story. You are adding it to the narrative of who you are and what you know about the world. You have been doing this every waking hour of your entire life. So has every human who ever lived. For potentially 200,000 years, we have been talking, gossiping, arguing, explaining, confessing, promising, lying, storytelling, and at no point in all of that time have we ever figured out when to stop. Which, honestly, feels exactly right. If you found this interesting, you know what to do. And if you want to know what ancient humans did when they got sick and what surprisingly worked, that one's next. See you soon.